In a humble neighborhood in Temeki, a poor young man named Juma lived a very ordinary life. Every morning, as the sun rose over the city of Dar es Salaam, Juma would already be up and heading to work. His job was carrying people's luggage at the Mbagala bus station. Dressed in a worn-out t-shirt and torn trousers, he worked tirelessly just to earn enough to survive each day. Despite his tough life, Juma had a heart of gold. He was kind, respectful, and deeply loving. He had a wife named Zainabu, a stunningly beautiful woman whose beauty made heads turn wherever she went. Many people in their neighborhood often whispered to each other, wondering how someone as lovely as Zainabu ended up with a man like Juma, who had so little to offer. But Zainabu didn't care about money. She had chosen Juma for his heart, not his pocket. Juma loved her deeply. Even though he earned very little, he always made sure to bring her whatever he could afford, be it sugar, bread, or a single rose from the roadside. In their tiny home, love mattered more than anything money could buy. One sunny morning, Zainabu decided to go to Kariakou to buy household supplies. As she stood waiting to cross Congo Street, a shiny black Range Rover pulled up next to her. The window rolled down, and a man wearing a sharp suit, a gold watch, and an expensive perfume leaned out and said with a smile, "Hello, sister. That sun looks harsh. Are you all right?" Zainabu gave him a polite smile and nodded, not wanting to seem rude. The man stepped out and introduced himself, "I'm Osman. I deal in car and gemstone businesses." He was a well-known billionaire who owned several luxury stores around the city. Osman was instantly drawn to Zainabu's beauty. Something about her stood out, her grace, her poise. He didn't rush things. He started calling her now and then, sending money and lavish gifts. At first, Zainabu refused to accept anything. But as the calls continued and the gifts piled up, she began to soften. As they say, the human heart is not made of stone. Then one day, Zainabu told Juma she was going to visit her aunt in Tabata. That was the last he saw of her. She never came back. Her phone stopped working. Juma waited, panicked. Hours turned into a day. The next morning, she still wasn't home. Worried and confused, Juma ran to the Mtoni Kijiji police station to report his missing wife. But the officers mocked him. "A grown woman doesn't just disappear," one laughed. "She probably left you because you're broke." Juma's heart shattered. He left the station with tears in his eyes, his chest heavy with pain. For 3 days, he stayed quiet, refusing to eat or talk to anyone. Then he decided to return to his village, Kigwema in Tanga, to inform his parents and elders about what had happened. When he arrived, the elders were heartbroken. They knew how much Juma loved Zainabu. That night, they all gathered under a giant mango tree in the center of the village. They lit candles, beat traditional drums, and made sacred offerings to the ancestral spirits. One of the elders told Juma, "Don't cry, son of Kigwema. We will search for her through our ancient ways." Meanwhile, far away in the luxurious Oyster Bay neighborhood of Dar es Salaam, Zainabu was living like royalty in Osman's mansion. She wore designer clothes, expensive jewelry, and ate 5-star meals. But the first night after the village ritual, everything changed. At midnight, the bedroom door began banging on its own. When they got up, frightened, they saw a shadowy figure of a man standing in the middle of the room. It was the ghostly figure of Juma, silent and still like a corpse. Osman was terrified. He began to pray, but the shadow would not leave. That same night, 2 of his luxury stores mysteriously caught fire. The next day, his parked car exploded, even though no one had touched it. The following night, Zainabu heard a sorrowful voice calling her name. Zainabu, have you forgotten our vow? You chose diamonds over love. She woke up in tears, drenched in sweat. Osman had reached his limit. He told Zainabu he could no longer live in fear. The next morning, they packed up and began their journey to return Zainabu to her husband. When they arrived in Temaki, Juma was not there. The neighbors told them he had gone to his village. So they drove to Tanga, toward the quiet village of Kigwema. But the road wasn't easy. Every few kilometers, their car got a flat tire. Several times, they saw a man sitting in the middle of the road, but he would vanish as they approached. Finally, they reached the village and asked to meet the elders. To their surprise, the elders were already waiting for them, as if they had seen this coming. Osman and Zainabu fell to their knees and begged for forgiveness. An old man named Babu Athuman stood and spoke with a deep, serious voice. This world has its own rules. A poor man's heart is not something to toy with. You caused pain that can't be measured. But we still believe in forgiveness. The elders imposed a fine of 20 million Tanzanian shillings for the pain Juma had endured. Osman paid it immediately from the trunk of his car. Then they performed a cleansing ritual to remove the bad luck that had followed them. Zainabu cried bitterly. She begged for forgiveness in front of Juma's family. But Juma wasn't there. They told her he was working on the farm. She desperately wanted to hug him and apologize face to face, but it wasn't possible. The elders made their final decision. Zainabu was officially divorced and given 3 million shillings to help her start over. She was to return to her parents' home. The elders refused to accept money on Juma's behalf. He is our blood. We raised him with love. You can't buy that with money, they said. 3 years passed. Juma had started a new life in the village. He focused on modern farming techniques, attending training workshops and investing in his future. He bought a tractor on loan and expanded his farm to 50 acres. With hard work and patience, he built a new, modern house. He eventually married again, this time, to a humble orphan girl from a nearby village. She had a warm smile and a peaceful heart. Together, they had 2 healthy, happy children. Every harvest season, Juma made sure to give food to all the village elders to show his gratitude. Without you, I would never have risen again, he would say. As for Zainabu, she never regained the happiness she once knew. She returned to her parents' home, ashamed and broken. The money she received lasted only a short while. Without a job or respect, she lived a quiet, lonely life. People looked at her with pity. Eventually, the weight of her regrets took a toll on her mind. She fell into depression and soon developed heart problems. She spent her days looking out the window, wishing she could go back in time and make different choices. But it was too late. At just 34 years old, Zainabu passed away. Only a few people attended her funeral. The woman who once lived like a queen, who had traded love for luxury, was buried in silence and sorrow.